Hi, I'm Allison Field. As a television news reporter, I've had to cover stories of terrible fires in which children, adults, and sometimes firefighters were burned or killed. Now, you might think, of course fire is hot, we all know that. But there's a lot more you need to know about how hot fires get, how fast a tiny flame from a match or lighter can spread into a huge fire, and what you should do if a fire breaks out. My dad and brother, also news reporters, learned a great deal about fire safety by going through fire training schools and reporting on fires. And they want you to know what the heat is like in a real fire.
Hi, I'm Frank Field, and this is my son, Storm.
Did you know that most fires are set by children playing with matches or cigarette lighters? Maybe it's something you've done yourself, but it's really something you should never, ever do. No one ever means to set terrible fires by playing with matches or lighters, but it happens all the time.
And it's a story we've heard all too often, a little boy playing with matches.
Little 3-year-old Ramon Severino was rescued inside the burning apartment. He was carried out by a maintenance man and then airlifted to Boston. Ramon and his brother, 8-year-old Gordon Benedict, had been playing with matches in a bedroom closet. The state's fire marshal says the fire illustrates what happens when kids play with fire.
If you ever find matches or lighters, give them to a grown-up. Never play with matches, lighters, or candles.
A tiny flame from a candle started this terrible fire. 3 children were hurt. The fire spread so fast they could not get out.
It started with a candle, spread very rapidly.
Overcome by smoke, the children were rushed to a hospital by helicopter. Luckily, all were saved. Never play with fire. It was also a candle that set a fire in a house that killed a mom and her 7-year-old daughter.
All it takes is a small, tiny flame to burn down a house. Never play with fire.
Matches, lighters, and candles are tools for adults. They are not toys. Boys playing with a cigarette lighter accidentally started this fire. They didn't mean to, but all 3 were burned and spent a long time in the hospital.
Matches, lighters, and candles are all tools for adults.
All it takes is a tiny flame to start a fire, so please don't play with any matches, lighters, or candles.
These firefighters have just finished putting out a fire that was started by a child who was playing with matches. As you can see, they're very upset and sad because the 4 children they saved were badly burned. The children were trapped in the black smoke and fire in their room after a boy playing with matches accidentally set a bed on fire. The boy, who didn't mean to start the fire, was burned. So were his brothers and sisters. They were all rushed to the hospital, badly hurt, because one child played with matches. The fire destroyed everything in their home. There was nothing left.
What can be the harm in a tiny flame that lights a cigarette? To many boys and girls, fires are fascinating. Fires look so pretty, with dancing flames and warmth. And burning coals in a barbecue mean tasty food and lots of fun. The heat from just a little flame, from a match or a lighter or a candle, doesn't seem scary, does it? But it can really be very dangerous. This boy was badly burned when he played with a match.
You found it on the floor.
And you picked up the match? And how'd you light a match? Do you know how to light?
Then a match. Then
yeah.
I put it on the bed, then I put water.
And the water didn't put out the fire? And what happened to you?
I got burned.
He played with a match. One match that started the fire that caused those terrible burns. And he's been in the hospital for months and needs years of treatments. This little girl was also rushed to a hospital after she played with a candle.
There was candles on the table, and I left not even 2 seconds, and she pulled the candles down, and her hair went up in flames. And it happened in a matter of seconds.
The girl's head was severely burned. She was treated at the hospital. She couldn't go home for a long time. So you see, even a tiny flame from a match or a candle can hurt you and turn into a huge fire.
It's hard to believe that a little flame like this could grow into a terrible fire.
Children who play around with a match, cigarette lighter, or candle don't understand what kind of danger they're fooling with. This little boy still hasn't learned the lesson Don't play with matches. How did that happen?
This?
Yeah.
This?
Yeah, what happened there?
It's so hot.
Yeah.
I burned it.
How'd you do that?
Easy, I lighted it
With what?
with a match.
He was very lucky. He could have burned his entire house down. He wouldn't have been laughing then. This is what might have happened. A small flame from a match or cigarette lighter or candle starts a little fire on the couch. The flame looks harmless, but watch how fast the fire grows. Fire experts want you to see just how dangerous playing with a little flame can be. They started this fire on a couch, just like the couch the little boy almost set on fire. Now you can see what happens. The sofa begins to blaze up. In minutes, the fire is roaring out of control. Smoke and the heat from the burning sofa are rising to the ceiling. It's getting darker and darker because the smoke is trapped in the room. The fire is spreading quickly. The temperature in the room is now hundreds of degrees. Only trained firefighters can put a fire like this one out. They learn how to fight fire at special schools.
Storm went to a school for firefighters where they can make fires without poisonous smoke. Here they teach the firefighters how unbelievably hot and dangerous flames can be. Storm wore protective fire clothing and a breathing mask, and he describes what it felt like while crawling on the floor.
The fire is so hot. I can feel the heat through my yellow protective clothes. I am really glad the fire lieutenant is crawling alongside of me, helping me stay safe. It's so hot over my head that if we stood up, it would kill us. That's why we have to stay low. The heat is so intense.
Then the firefighters took Storm into another special room to show how hot it can get in a fire. Remember the couch we showed you, which was burning and filled the room with thick black smoke? Well, here's what happens in such a room. Firefighters call it a flashover because it gets so terribly hot, over 1,000 degrees, and the black smoke near the ceiling bursts into flame. The smoke actually burns. When it gets that hot, everything burns and melts, even metal, plastic, and glass.
Guys have flashlights on their helmets, and they sometimes walk out of a fire and they're dripping off the side of the helmet because they're completely melted.
So now you know why that little boy who played with matches and almost set his couch on fire was lucky. All it took was that one tiny flame to do all this. Never, never play with matches, lighters, candles, or fire.